Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, September the 1st. We got another two-game slate today. We got Boston-Toronto playing Game 2 of their series, and then we got Game 7 between the Jazz and the Nuggets. Both, games we expect to stay close. Shouldn't expect any blowouts here. Normal big minutes for all the starters, especially in that Utah-Denver game. Game 7. Winner moves on, loser goes home. You expect huge minutes for all the starters there, or for most of the starters. So this should be a pretty fun two-game slate. We don't have a ton of elite stud options. Our most expensive player overall is Donovan Mitchell at $9,900. And then you got a lot of other guys in the 9K range, Murray, Jokic, Tatum. It's not like last night's slate where we had, Harden and Giannis above 10K. And then I think the next most expensive guy was Westbrook at $9,700. And you weren't really going to play Westbrook anyway with his minutes still limited, at least not at his Draftkings price. This is a slate where I think there's a lot of ways you can go. We'll definitely break it all down. We'll talk about each position, what I see the night before, what stands out to me looking at this slate on Monday night. Before we do get started though, guys, as always, would appreciate it if you would hit the like button down below. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel as well. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is free. Also, be sure to click that notification bell. Click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you would like, I do have more content available on Patreon. If you really enjoy these YouTube videos and you want to get more content from me, you can check out what's available on Patreon, link down below in the description. It is the first day of a new month. It's the first of the month. Those are usually the best times to join Patreon. Usually want to try and join, on the first couple of days of the month, so that way you get the most, value out of your money. Because the way Patreon works, they do charge you the day you sign up, and they charge you, it's a monthly subscription, so they charge you the first of every month. So if you do join at the first of the month, you're getting the most, value out of your money. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at this two-game slate, guys. We'll start off at point guard. We got Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray here, our top two options. Mitchell $9,900, Murray $9,700. So both of these two guys have just been playing at an elite level recently. You look at Mitchell's game log, 67 Draftkings points last game in Game 6. In Game 4, he had 66 DK points, playing 38 to 40 minutes. Even with Mike Conley back, I thought Mitchell was going to take a little bit of a hit. He definitely has. He wasn't as good in Game 5 with just 42 DK points, but there's still a big ceiling for Mitchell. Definitely a guy you can consider paying up for, especially because, we don't have a ton of other stud options. We don't have anyone over 10K, so I don't mind Mitchell here on this two-game slate, but I think I would prefer Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, I don't know what's going on with him, but he is just playing at an elite level recently. You look at the game log, and I know game log isn't everything, but 82, 68, 67 Draftkings points his last three games. He's playing 42 to 44 minutes. With this being Game 7, win or go home, I think we might see Jamal Murray potentially play 44, 45 minutes. Hell, there's even a chance he plays the whole game. I like Jamal Murray a lot. I don't think we're really point chasing here. His usage has been through the roof in the playoffs. The offense is going to run through Murray and through Jokic. These are the two guys you expect to do all the production for the Nuggets. Jamal Murray's always been a player I thought, could be so much better than he was. For DFS, I thought this is a guy that could go out there and put up 45, 50 DK points a night. He's an incredible shooter. Probably one of the best three-point shooters in the game. When he gets hot, man, this dude can just knock down three after three after three. It is insane. You'll see, I think it was even last game, I'm pretty sure after the first quarter or the second quarter, he literally had maybe 10 DK points after the first quarter and then just went nuclear in the second half. This is a guy, when he gets hot, he'll just keep shooting. Right now he's taking 25, 30 shots a game. Jamal Murray's just going to go out there and chuck, it seems like. 50 points, 42 points, 50 points. He's just scoring at will right now. It doesn't seem like the Jazz really have an answer for him. I know $9,700 is not normally a price tag we pay for Jamal Murray, but on this slate, where we don't have a ton of other guys to pay up for, I think Jamal Murray does look like one of the best pay-up options. I like him a lot on DK. I like him on Yahoo as well. He's $37 over here. His price tag's coming up. But you compare his price to Mitchell, he's still $2 less than Donovan Mitchell. Both these guys are still cheaper than both Jokic and Tatum. Tatum's 40, Jokic is 43. I like Jamal Murray a lot on Yahoo as well. Like I said, I don't think we're really point chasing here. I think this could be the new normal for Jamal Murray. If the Nuggets win this game and they advance in the playoffs, we could see Murray taking 25, 30 shots a game in the playoffs, playing huge minutes. if Denver wants to make it far in the postseason, I mean, they're going to need Murray to continue to score like he is, to continue to play this well. And, I think we do see him continue to play this well. He's one of my favorite pay-up options today. I like him a lot on DK and on Yahoo as well. And then you got the mid-range guys like Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, Kemba Walker, Mike Conley. These are all guys I have a good amount of interest in. VanVleet and Lowry, I'm pretty sure they were both kind of disappointing last game. VanVleet was all right, 40 DK points in 38 minutes. I believe Lowry wasn't as good, though. He finished with 36 DK points in 35 minutes. Boston, they actually kind of blew out the Raptors, which was kind of unexpected. Boston won that game by 18 points. I wouldn't expect, the game to be that far, or the spread to be that far today. I mean, we should expect close games for both these two games. I'm expecting all the starters to play their full minutes. Between VanVleet, Lowry, Walker, it's really close between those three guys. I think I still do give the edge to Kemba Walker. I've been playing Kemba Walker a lot lately. I mean, he's just looked like he's really turned a corner. Just been really an elite fantasy player the last few games. I think he's going to continue to play this well. Without Gordon Hayward, I've said this pretty much every video that the Celtics have been in. We know where the offensive production is coming from the Celtics. It's coming from three guys, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and Kemba Walker. Last three games, 47, 50, 41 DK points, 35, 36 minutes, 32 minutes, and a blowout last game. If this game stays close, which it should, we should expect 35 to 36 minutes from Kemba. He's still one of my favorite guys here at 7,600. Between him and VanVleet, I think it's close. I like both those guys a lot. I think I do give the slight edge, though, to Lowry, especially because Walker, especially because maybe, VanVleet comes in a little bit higher owned than Kemba. I think those two guys will be pretty equally owned today. I do prefer Kemba, though. And then on Yahoo, you got VanVleet at 32, Lowry at 30, and then Kemba at 29. I also like Kemba over on Yahoo at $29. He's a guy that I'm just going to keep playing, just continue to play really well. I think eventually we're going to see his price get up over 8K, and maybe that'll be when I hop off. Maybe I'll get less exposure. But for now, I still think he's a little bit too cheap for a guy, I expect to score 40, 45 DK points most nights, and he obviously has upside for more if he gets, really hot from the field. And then Mike Conley, this is another guy that I like a lot, that I've been playing a lot as well. So he put up 39 DK points last game in 34 minutes. Conley isn't playing the 40, 42 minutes that we're seeing from guys like Jamal Murray and like Donovan Mitchell. But still, 34 to 36 minutes from Conley is enough for him to pay off this price. On the season, he's been about a fantasy point per minute player. He's playing at a really high level, contributing in all categories, giving you points, rebounds, and assists. So far since, coming back and playing, I believe he was out a couple of games because of quarantine, missed like the first two games of the series. He's played in the last 4 games, and in those games, he's put up 38, 39, 33, and 39 DK points. We haven't really gotten a ceiling game yet from Mike Conley, but he's giving you such a high floor right now, pretty much like a 35-point floor. I like Conley still at 6,800. I think with his price coming up, maybe the ownership won't be as high on him. I know he was pretty high on like the last few slates because he's been a little bit cheaper. Now that he's up to 6,800 and you have some other guys for just a little bit more, like Lowry and VanVleet and Kemba, maybe Conley isn't as high owned today, so definitely like him at 6,800. I like him on Yahoo as well, coming in at $23. I still think he is a little bit too cheap on Yahoo as well. I mean, for a guy that's going to give you 35 to 40 DK points most nights, 6,800 is a pretty affordable price tag for him. Going to play probably 35, 36 minutes as long as the game is close. So really like that mid-range with the guys we talked about. You got Marcus Smart for 6K. So Marcus Smart, normally not someone I play. He did play really well last game. In just 31 minutes, he put up 36 Draftkings points. I think Smart is still going to be someone I probably avoid today. Rarely do I play Marcus Smart whenever Kemba, Tatum, Brown, like all those guys are healthy. The only time I really consider Smart is whenever like Kemba is healthy and Smart gets to start at point guard. Playing alongside Kemba, playing alongside Tatum and Brown, Smart's going to be like the 4th option on this team. I mean, he kind of got hot from the field last game, shot 5 for 9 from 3, 6 for 10 from the field. I don't know if you expect him to shoot that well every game. Most games are getting like 25, 30 DK points from Marcus Smart. Like, he's just not a guy I feel like I have to have, especially at a 6K price tag. Sure, he can go out there and get 35, 36 DK points and be a solid play at his price, but rarely is Marcus Smart just going to break the slate and be a guy you have to win, especially when all the other Celtics are healthy. I know Hayward's out, but Hayward being out isn't a big enough boost for me to want to pay 6K for Marcus Smart, so I'll let others chase that game. I'll probably be underweight on him today. Clarkson, I haven't really been playing him with Mike Conley back. Just not giving you enough for his price. 5,400. I need at least 30 plus DK points. And sure, Clarkson can go out there and score 30 DK points. He can get hot from the field. Just don't think I have to pay a $5,400 salary for him. I mean, there's really no value I like at point guard. Like Monte Morris, he still started last game with Gary Harris back. You know, Gary Harris came off the bench, but Morris only played 25 minutes. You know, he's not going to be productive anyway in the starting lineup, playing alongside Jokic and Murray. So I don't want to go to Marcus Morris. I mean, there's really not much value I like at point guard. I think you're going to the mid-range and paying up for guys like Mitchell and Murray. You know, this is where I want to spend my salary today. So let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. A lot of guys here we've already touched on. Jaylen Brown, someone I haven't talked about yet. Jaylen Brown was someone I did like a lot last slate, and he was pretty disappointing. You know, just 29 DK points in 31 minutes. But I'll be going right back to him today. You know, this is still a guy I expect to be very productive, average over a fantasy point per minute. You know, now that Gordon Hayward's out, that is a small boost for Jaylen Brown. Brown does look really good on Yahoo as well. You know, if you're not paying up for Mitchell or Van Vliet over $30, you do have Jaylen Brown coming in at just $25 on Yahoo, which I think is a pretty affordable price tag for him. You know, he's definitely going to be probably one of my highest owned shooting guards on Yahoo. I just think he's a little bit too cheap. Should be priced up there with Fred Van Vliet. You're definitely getting a discount on Brown. Even where he's closely priced to Van Vliet, you know, I do prefer Van Vliet straight up where they're closely priced. But I still have interest in Jaylen Brown. I still expect him to be productive, to play big minutes as long as the game is close. And for $7,300, there's still upside for him at that price. So definitely like Brown here. You know, Smart, Clarkson, two guys I'm not too high on. Joe Ingles, $5,300. You know, I don't mind Joe Ingles. Going to start, probably play about 32, 34 minutes. Only got 30 minutes last game, wasn't too productive. You know, you don't expect his production to be at as high of a level as it was before Conley was back. You know, those first couple of games where Conley was out, that was definitely a boost for Joe Ingles. We saw him put up 37 DK points, 31 DK points. You know, he definitely takes a hit with Conley back, loses some usage, loses his assist percentage, also drops a little bit as well. I think he's still in play because it's a two-game slate and he's going to start and play 32, 34 minutes. I just don't know if he's a guy that I'm going to go out of my way to play. Again, you know, I think shooting guard's a position I want to try and get to, like, you know, if I'm not playing, I think Murray has shooting guard eligibility. Yeah, so you could play Murray here. You could obviously pay up for Mitchell, Van Vliet, Brown. Like, these are the guys I like most. Value-wise, you know, Norman Powell, probably not for me. You know, doubt I really go there. Sure, Powell can get hot from the field, can come off the bench and score, but not a guy I really ever play. Gary Harris came off the bench last game, played 21 minutes, 8 Draftkings points. I mean, Gary Harris is cheap. He's $3,900. But still, you know, on the season, he hasn't been great for fantasy. You know, he hasn't been the same fantasy guy that he used to be. You know, a couple years ago, we saw Harris price, you know, around 5 to 6K every night, was consistently giving you 30, 35 DK points. That's just not the case anymore. You know, he's not as high usage of a player, just doesn't contribute much for DFS. You know, right now, the offense is running through Jamal Murray and through Nikola Jokic. So even at a $3,900 salary, you know, I doubt I really get to Gary Harris. If we get word that he can play like maybe close to 30 minutes, I guess he's somewhat interesting because we don't have a ton of value today. But still, I doubt I really go there. You know, there's really not much value at shooting guard. Really not much value at all in the slate, which is not that bad given, you know, we don't really have any elite studs to pay up for. Your most expensive player is like $9,900, so it's not like we need, you know, these punt value plays. I was definitely looking for punt value on Monday because I wanted to pay up for Giannis. You know, I just checked the box score and that wasn't, you know, the right choice because Giannis really sucked on Monday. But today, don't feel like I'm really going to be going too cheap. Gary Harris is fine, but I doubt I get there, you know, in a ton of lineups. So let's just go ahead and move on to small forward. So you do have Jayson Tatum here for $9,200. You know, I definitely like Tatum. I think I still am going to have him behind a guy like Jamal Murray. But Tatum's definitely in play. I mean, wasn't great last game with just 36 DK points in 37 minutes. But we know the kind of upside Jayson Tatum has. You know, he's going to be the highest usage player on this team. He's going to get most of the offensive production is going to run through Tatum. Without Gordon Hayward, you know, that is a slight boost for Jayson Tatum. Going to play huge minutes. If the game is close, you're going to get 40, 42 minutes from Jayson Tatum. He's expensive. He's $9,200. It may be tough to get him in with Jamal Murray. But, you know, if maybe you don't want to go to Murray, I don't mind Tatum here. I think I would prefer Tatum. I would say it's close between like Tatum and Jokic. I think for sure my favorite guy to pay up for today is Murray. Between Murray and Mitchell, you know, I prefer Murray. Between like Mitchell and Tatum, that's probably close for me. I think I maybe would give the slight edge to Tatum, especially because the small forward position, you know, there's not as many good options as there is at guard. You know, at guard, you've got Murray, you've got Van Vliet, Lowry, Kemba, Conley. You look at forward, you look at small forward. I mean, sure you have Jaylen Brown, but MPJ, his minutes are way down. Joe Ingles, his production's down right now. I still like Jeremy Grant. We'll talk about him. But Powell, OG, Royce, I think given the position, because small forward is not as deep as guard is, I'd probably rather pay up for Tatum than Mitchell. But both guys are very solid options. Obviously on Yahoo, Tatum is the top small forward here. I mean, small forward already sucks in general. There's not a lot of great options. So if you can pay up for Tatum here at $40, if you can find a way to fit him in, I mean, he's definitely the top small forward on Yahoo. But then the mid-range, MPJ, just hard to trust him right now. We don't know what the minutes are going to look like. 28 minutes last game, 34 minutes the game before that, 23 minutes the game before that. Sure, MPJ has upside. If he gets hot from the field, maybe Malone gives him a few more minutes than he normally would. But at 5,500, we're not getting too big of a discount on Porter. He's definitely losing usage. I mean, last game he only scored 2 points. Really, the only reason he had a decent game last game with 18, even salvaged his day, was because he got 12 rebounds. I mean, this is a guy that can rebound pretty well. Normally, you expect him to score more than 2 points. I mean, he just took 7 shots, was 0 for 5 from 3. Still, I don't think I'm going to be going, to Michael Porter Jr. too much today. Jeremy Grant's probably the guy I like most here at small forward. This is a guy that I've actually been playing a lot recently. It's just the minutes. I mean, 36, 40, 35 minutes. Ever since he moved into the starting lineup, he has been locked into big minutes. I expect that to continue to be the case, especially with them, giving Paul Millsap pretty much no run. I think Millsap played 19 minutes last game. It's very clear that they want Jeremy Grant to be out there as much as possible. Grant, along with Monte Morris, these guys aren't going to have, or they're not going to be very productive on a point per minute basis in the starting lineup. They definitely lose production playing alongside Murray and Jokic. But still, if we're going to get nearly 40 minutes from Jeremy Grant at 5,100, there's still potential for him to pay off this price. He got hot from the field last game, did score 23 DK points, had 18 points. Really didn't contribute much with the peripherals, though. Just 1 rebound and 2 blocks. Grant is a guy, though, that can grab 5-6 rebounds, can get a couple blocks, can knock down, 5 or 6 threes. There's definitely a path for Jeremy Grant to score 30-plus DK points, especially because he's playing, close to 40 minutes. So I still like Jeremy Grant a lot at 5,100. I still think he's a little bit too cheap, especially because, we don't have a ton of great value. So getting a guy this, at 5,100 that's going to play probably 40 minutes definitely puts him in play for me. And then on Yahoo, I mean, if you look at power forward on Yahoo, it is so freaking bad. You literally have, I would say you have 2 playable options, maybe 3 if you want to play Paul Millsap. You got Pascal Siakam for $32 at power forward. You got Jeremy Grant for $18. And then out of all these $10 guys, really the only one I would even consider playing would be Paul Millsap. Millsap minimum salary, I guess, is somewhat appealing, but he's literally played 19 minutes the last 2 games. Who knows how many minutes he plays today? Probably he just plays 19, 20 minutes again. It doesn't seem like they want to play Millsap, big minutes. I thought they were going to. Once they moved Grant into the starting lineup, the first game they did that, we saw Paul Millsap get 35 minutes. I thought that was going to be the normal because, with Grant starting, Grant wasn't going to be taking away minutes from Millsap. But it just seems like they don't want to play Millsap right now, so he's hard to trust. At power forward on Yahoo, you're either playing Siakam or Grant, in my opinion. You could get Millsap exposure, but I probably want to just limit most of my exposure at this position to these 2 guys. Grant at $18, definitely in play just due to the lack of options at the position. Like I said, there's an easy path for him to get, close to 30 fantasy points and be a good play at his price. But then other small forwards, under 5K. Now, I pretty much said the same thing about OG and Royce O'Neal this whole, since these 2 guys have been on the slate. They're going to play big minutes. Last game in a blowout, you got 33 minutes from OG. Royce O'Neal played 38 minutes. Both these guys are not great point per minute players. They're not great fantasy players. They're not good for DFS, but they're going to play big minutes. They're pretty cheap. If I had to choose one, I think I would give the edge to Royce O'Neal for 4,500. If I can get up to Jeremy Grant, though, I do feel better about Grant over OG and Royce. But, those 2 guys are going to be in my player pool today just because they're going to play big minutes, and that's really all we can ask for when you're this cheap. So, or when you're under 5K, just getting guys that are going to play big minutes. That's kind of good enough for me. Minutes equals money, in my opinion. It's hard for guys to be productive for DFS when they're only playing 15 minutes, unless it's like Boban or something. So yeah, I think we covered small forward. Let's talk about the power forward position now. So up top here, you got Siakam, who we haven't touched on yet, 8K on Draftkings. Siakam was pretty disappointing last game. I believe he, got into some early foul trouble. Still played 34 minutes though, with just 22 DK points. Now I wouldn't let that game scare me off Siakam. I still like him a lot today. I don't think he's going to be like a top pickup option for me, especially because we have, some other guys to pay up for. You have Jayson Tatum for 9,200. You got Mitchell, Murray we talked about. These guards in the 7K range I like a lot. Siakam's not going to be someone I go out of my way to play. Yahoo's definitely where I'm going to have my most exposure to Siakam, just because the power forward position, like I said, you really only have 2, maybe 3 playable options, depending on if you want to play Paul Millsap or not. So I will definitely have exposure to Siakam on Yahoo, just because of how bad the position is. On Draftkings, with the positional flexibility, like you can play Grant at power forward, you can play Tatum at power forward. We're going to talk about Daniel Theis I like quite a bit. You got OG and Royce you could play here. So yeah, not as high as him on not as high on him on DK, more of a Yahoo play for me. But Daniel Theis is someone I want to talk about. So I wasn't on him last slate, and it definitely came back to bite me. He was pretty popular. I mean, I think the last slate that the Celtics were on, I believe that was a 2-game slate as well, or maybe a 3-game slate. I can't remember. Theis, just got ownership because there wasn't a ton of options. I remember on Yahoo he was like 30% owned, and I didn't play him at all, and he went out there and crushed. He only played 25 minutes, but he was very productive with 38 DraftKings points. You obviously don't expect Theis to produce at that high of a level. He's a guy that averages about a fantasy point per minute. So he, normally in 25 minutes, he's going to give you about 25 to 27 DK points. Definitely caught, a bit of a ceiling game from Daniel Theis. I don't know if he's going to score close to 40 DK points again this season. But it seems like he's going to be locked into about 26 to 28 minutes. There's maybe a chance he played a few more minutes in that game had it stayed close. I'm not exactly sure when he subbed out or whenever he came off the floor. I doubt he played that much in the fourth quarter. This is a Toronto team that usually has one of Siakam, Gasol, Ibaka, one of those 3 guys usually on the floor at all times, if not 2 of those 3 guys. So they're going to need some size out there. Daniel Theis, I don't know if we're really point chasing here. The price tag did come up, but if we're going to get close to 30 minutes from Theis, which I think we do on a nightly basis in this series, as long as he's not in foul trouble, there's definitely an easy path for him to pay out this price tag. Theis is a productive player when he gets minutes. He can get you a double-double in close to 30 minutes. He can block shots. At 5,200 on DK, I still think he's viable at that price, especially due to the lack of options we have, in the 5K range and below that. And then on Yahoo, you got Theis coming in at center. He's very cheap on Yahoo. I expect he's going to be very popular there. But again, you really only have 4 playable options here. You're either playing Jokic, Gobert, Ibaka, or Theis. None of these $10 guys you're going to want to play. Maybe Marc Gasol you could play, but again, who knows what we get from him. He played 26 minutes last game, only 19 fantasy points though. If Gasol gets you about 25 fantasy points, he's going to be a pretty solid play for $10. But if I can find the $4, I would much rather get up to Daniel Theis. I definitely think he looks like one of the better center options today when you factor in price. I do like him quite a bit on both sides. On DK, you can play him at power forward, which does make him a very appealing option in my opinion. Then you got Paul Millsap, who again, I don't know if I can play today. If I were to play him, it would be on Yahoo, where you only have 3 power forwards, and he's one of the 3 that you can actually play. He's also minimum salary on Yahoo, so I guess he's viable there. Not really going to get to him on DK, though. I'd rather play OG and Royce over him. So, yeah, I think we covered everything for power forward. We'll run through center real quick just before we end the video. So, at the top of the center position, you got Jokic, 9,500. So, I don't think Jokic is going to be someone I go out of my way to play. He's been very consistent recently. Last 3 games, 47, 49, 47 DK points. I've been saying it over and over. We haven't gotten that ceiling game yet from Jokic. It seems like right now, though, if we're looking for ceiling, Jamal Murray is the guy that we want here. Jamal Murray, his ceiling has just been through the roof. He's obviously just his usage is through the roof right now, taking close to 30 shots a game. If I'm going to pay up for somebody, it's going to be, Murray over Jokic. The only reason I would get to Jokic today would just be because of the center position being so, there being so few options at center. Like on Yahoo, like I said, you got pretty much 3 or 4 playable options here. Jokic will definitely find his way into some of my Yahoo lineups just because there's not a ton of guys that you can play at the position. On DK, you do have positional flexibility. You can play Theis at center. You can play Gobert and Ibaka. These aren't guys I love either. Gobert is someone I just never feel like I have to have. Like, rarely does Gobert just go out there and break the slate. At 7,900, he's not going to be someone I go out of my way to play. If I get exposure to Gobert, it'll just be because the center position is so thin and there's just not a ton of options. Ibaka as well, we're probably going to get about 26, 28 minutes from Ibaka. He's definitely a productive player when he gets minutes. I think we've got a couple outlier performances from him. Those 2 games against Brooklyn in games 3 and 4 with 43 of 55 DraftKings points. You don't expect that kind of production from Ibaka. This is a much tougher matchup against Boston than in their last series against the Nets. I mean, that was literally one of the best possible matchups you could have got for Ibaka. So at 6,200, he's definitely in play just because, like I said, we don't have a ton of center plays, but I think a lot of my center exposure today is going to go to Daniel Theis. He's the guy I like most here. Plus, I'm trying to pay up for Murray. I like those 7K and 8K guards. It's going to be tough to get Murray, one of those 7K guards, and pay up at center. Like, you're just not going to have enough value to do that. So this is a position where I'll most likely be going to like a guy like Daniel Theis. If you want to play Gasol, I guess you could do that for cheap. But that's probably it for center, guys. Not a ton of options here. If you want to pay up for Jokic or Gobert, by all means, go ahead. I'm going to have exposure to those guys, but definitely, a large majority of my center exposure is going to go to Daniel Theis just because he's the guy that kind of fits the way I want to build my lineups today. Paying up for Jokic and Gobert is not going to be the way. Like, if I'm playing one lineup today, I don't think I pay up for Jokic or Gobert. I'm trying to get in Jamal Murray. So, yeah, that's what I'm seeing at center, guys. I think we broke everything down for this 2-game slate. It kind of sucks that we're just getting 2-gamers right now, but Draftkings is still running out huge tournaments every slate. These NBA games, I said it last video, these NBA games are so fun to watch right now, so great to sweat for DFS. I wish I could sports bet in my state because I would definitely be betting on these games if I could. Hopefully DraftKings Sportsbook, becomes available in South Carolina pretty soon where I live because I would love to sports bet, but yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I do appreciate you watching. Hit that like button before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, if you want to check out my Patreon exclusive content, that is linked down below in the description. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it is the first day of a new month. The first of the month is always the best time to join the Patreon because of the way they, handle their payments or whatever, the way they charge you. So definitely check out the Patreon. If you thought about joining, I would recommend, you kind of get in now at the first of the month. But yeah, guys, best of luck tonight. Really appreciate you watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.